Welcome to Challenges of Faith radio program. I am Gary McKeon, the producer, host, and author of Continuing Relational Challenges. Tonight's guest is Dr. Dawn K, MD, author, New York Broadway play and documentary producer. Dawn has a very, very long profile. But most importantly, professional experience in working with healthcare facilities, religious community organizations, and individuals as it relates to cancer. Author of audiobook series, The Day That Changed My Life, Cancer. An Uncertain Journey, which is available globally. Also translated in French and German. Author of the uncoupling book, The Day That Changed My Life, Cancer. An Uncertain Journey, more on cancer treatments, alternative therapies, survivor stories to uplift, inspire, and encourage. But rather than me telling you about Dawn's background and all that she's doing and has done, let's turn it over to her. My beloved sister, say you, and welcome back to Challenges of Radio.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. How are you and your
morning.
total family? Good morning.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
early.
We are all doing our... Hello? Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
So
It's,
thank you. We are all doing our best to be safe and trusting that God will honor our efforts. To date, we are all still doing very well.
Well, you know, it's exciting to have you back, so let's take a walk with you. You ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. What were your aspirations while growing up?
When I was young, I wanted to be a teacher, a model, and a doctor.
All three.
All three?
You know, listeners, one of the things you're going to find out during this interview, the shyness of Dawn, the medical doctor who have helped many, many people. And so her strength lies not in her communication, but what she does through her actions. But today we're going to try to grab all that she has done and is doing and will be doing through her communication, which is powerful. What colleges did you attend, graduate from, and why those particular fields of studies?
Well, I had a great academic experience. Interestingly, I was raised in a Pentecostal household, but I attended Catholic high school. I graduated from Jesuit colleges. This is like Fordham University and New York Medical College. And the reasons I chose the studies in terms of having psychology as a major in college at Fordham University and going on into medical school is because it was really important for me to get in touch with what was most important to me at that time of maturity when I no longer wanted to be a model because that quickly faded. It's really about serving others, and that has always, even the whole desire to be a teacher, I just wanted to be able to work in an area where I can make an impact or a difference in the lives of others.
All right, so it appears that your interest, irrespective of where you are, has always been relating to people and your concern and love about people. But most importantly, why was psychology interesting to and for you?
Yes, psychology was my major as an undergraduate student at Fordham University. I'm intrigued with the human mind and the behaviors and the challenges that has presented in mental and physical cognitive processes. These are some of the reasons why I wanted to, learn more, because in serving others, you have to understand what drives people. You have to understand not only just their mental state, but also their history, what things may have affected them throughout life. You know, we all have different types of experiences, so we cannot always assume because of our own experience we can relate to others. We need to learn more and understand, even as it relates to cultures of others. You know, understanding cultures, and that's the course that I do where I talk about understanding cultures and the communities that we serve. It's really important to understand people psychologically as well as physically.
So, listeners, you heard Dr. Dawn start off with sharing her interests as her aspirations. And what's interesting about it, she really took two of those and brought them to the forefront. Because as she is sharing as it relates to psychology, it's going to lend the practical part toward the next topic as we go forward. But one of the things that should stick out to you as a listener, that has stuck out for me, I remember listening to one of Dawn's radio programs, and the topics that we're going to discuss today cause anxiety for the individual who is impacted. And as a result of that impact, they needed somebody, apart from being a medical doctor, to be able to, take those cookies from the top shelf and make it clear, but done in such a manner that it caused comfort to and for that person. So, Dawn, let's turn toward your medical expertise. You know, a lot of times the public, when hearing the title doctor, assumes the doctor specializes in every area of health and wellness of life. You have spoken at various conferences and seminars and is the recipient of many academic and community achievement awards. What is your area of expertise, and what has been challenging to and for you with patients?
Well, I am in the field of cancer, and the biggest challenge remains the high disparities that is rampant in our communities, specifically the minority or the underserved populations, whether it is breast, prostate, pancreatic, stomach, colon, multiple myeloma, you name it. The death rate remains high, and that is of major concern. So, yes, those are part of the challenges, is to really bring awareness and try to advocate on behalf of the patients and to empower patients to understand their role in this whole process of their health and well-being.
How are you able to provide your invaluable advice?
Well, it is indeed a privilege to be able to have a seat at the table at the Food and Drug Administration, where I have been given a third term and actually just been renewed to a fourth term to serve, where we're working on different types of things as it relates to the community at large. So having a seat at the table allows me to have a voice for that will impact our life. Whether it is a drug that is being introduced for approval or removal, I have to ask the questions on its efficacy. How effective is it? Was there any minority participants in the trial? You know, we need to know these things. We kind of have a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to our health.
And praise God that he have you at the table. And listeners, what Dawn is talking about is, and again, congratulations to you, that she's been blessed to have been appointed for the fourth time to serve on a panel by the Food and Drug Administration, and the purpose is of reviewing new medical instruments and drugs used to treat cancer. And again, as we started the program off, you've heard a little bit of Dawn's background, but at the same time, you've heard that care from the inside of her heart, going through her lips, being able to share, making sure that whoever's sitting at the table, that they are sensitive to the needs of those who are needy or help, the helpless, the hopeless, the hurting. Dawn, you are an expert in working through life's challenges and using your experiences to help others. On top of writing and publishing in-depth articles I want to take a moment and be personal, if I may. Your beloved father was healthy. What happened with him, and how did it impact your decision to form your own company?
Yes, that's really something. My father was a general practitioner, and in our household, a general practitioner would be the doctor back in those days where they saw all patients. So my father was a health nut, and in our home we had all the healthy, nutritional foods and fruits and vegetables. Everything was just whatever was considered good for you was in our house. We had yogurt when yogurt was not flavored, when it tasted like punishment. But we had our desserts, and we had different things on occasions. We didn't have them every day. It would be probably Sundays after church, and we go and have family dinner, and we'll have a dessert after. That was something to look forward to, or Thanksgiving or Christmas or a birthday. But in this day and age where we live with having snacks and treats at our disposal, back then in our household it was a little bit more stricter. So my father was a healthy man. He lived by the book of nutrition. So, he diet, exercised, he rode a bicycle every day to and from work and to the hospital and back. And he did yoga. He was into meditation and prayer. My father did everything holistically possible, but then he came down with colon cancer, and that was a blow to the family and to many and everyone who knew him. And that drove me to want to do something more, to find out how can I be a part of the change? How can I be a part of this whole cancer community? How can I go and bring awareness? Because I think what happened with my father was that he was busy being a provider. I am the last of 12 children. The twins died before I was born, but so my growing up in my household, it was 10 of us. So both of my parents, strong faith-based people, and I'm the last of 10 in terms of living children. So my father was always working to provide, and as immigrants who migrated to this country back in the 40s, my father was always thinking not only about his family here, but the family back in the Caribbean. And so therefore there was always some sort of family member coming in and staying with us, being able to be sponsored, as it's called, and sent to college, and then they veer off and to get their own citizenship or residence, whatever that thing that they had to do to be able to live and work here. They went through that, and so I saw my father just working to help others right up until his dying days. That year he was working in January, and he was gone by June. But it was a matter, I think my father thought so strongly in his habits that he never thought that he would ever have succumbed to cancer. And that's because his focus was basically on helping others. Even though we were adults at the time of his death and his passing, all of his children were grown, he was still working to help others, and he was still working to make sure that everyone else, other family members, wherever they were still good. So he ignored certain signs and symptoms, I'm sure of it, that he just thought that he had maintained a good life. So whatever it was, maybe he assumed it was a part of the aging process or whatever. So yes, that is a big it has a big impact on how I approach awareness and advocacy and bringing life to cancer, in terms of making sure that everyone knows how important it is to take charge of your own health and well-being.
On a respectful, lighter note, your father, it sounds like, in correlation with all that you shared about him, was ready to start his own nation with starting off with 12 of you. And and so
yes.
So listeners, always remember, irrespective of who the guests are and the titles, always make sure that we leave room for humor, because that's important for all of our lives. And at the same time, I was thinking about, as you shared, coming on the three aspirations, and I remember, and I don't know how your male patients are, but I remember having to go to a physician and doing my annual check, and the medical doctor was a female, and that was my first time with a female physician, and she was very, very attractive, like a model. And, we men, we got this thing where, we get all this pride and, we want with somebody else. And, but let me tell you something. That doctor, with the greatest respect for her, accomplished the objective. And I was thankful to God for another year in terms of making sure that, I did the right thing for myself as a male, but specifically as a black male, making sure that I have that annual checkup as relates to making sure that being cancer-free and any other type of illness or element. And I say that coming back to you, as I indicated when I first broached the topic, I'm sure that, and I don't know, have you had that when you've had male patients where they came in and they know why they came in, but at the same time, that pride entered the picture, but you had a way of ensuring them that, hey, it's about your health. It's not about looking at you as a medical doctor who happened to resemble a model somewhere, so that therefore they keep it distinct. Hope that made sense. Listeners, we have with us our beloved sister in and of the faith, Dr.Dawn K. Aldrich, author, speaker, business owner, radio host, producer of a documentary, and a New York off-Broadway play. Dawn, what are the aims and goals of Solutions Health and Wellness Center and your nonprofit, SCRC, Inc.?
Thank you. It's all about improving on our health and well-being. SCRC is Solutions Cancer Resource Center. And so you see right here, it's like we need to be proactive. We have the highest mortality rates in every area of disease, not just cancer, but diabetes and strokes, heart health, chronic illnesses. We tend to be reactive to the point of waiting till we cannot take it anymore before we seek medical attention. We have to do better. And, of course, this pandemic has created a setback, but we need to get checked annually. And whenever we see something that is not the norm, we need to start thinking about making that appointment. So the goal is really about doing whatever it is, whether it's about our nutrition, the way we eat. Prevention is, my mother used to say, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So we should take every measure and every effort that we can to do what's right, knowing how to eat well and how to make the appointments that are necessary to go to the doctors and see about our health, because our health is really what's going to be able to keep us here to fulfill our purpose here on earth, or to be able to see our family and to spend more time, quality life, being able to sharing with the joys of celebrations of new births or graduations or weddings or birthdays or anniversaries. It's different things that is so important to us. When we have these moments, we think of our loved ones that we lost. And so for those of us who are still here, we need to find ways to try to make the best of it by not suffering with chronic illnesses and having to be dependent on medications and different types of things. So that's why, Solutions Health and Wellness Center is about focusing on health and well-being. Solutions Cancer Resource Center is also focused on empowering us and understanding who we are as it relates to our health and well-being, but also to understanding we need to be screened for cancer. If we, at certain ages, we need to know what to do in terms of having breast exams or having prostate exams or going for different types of obstetrics and gynecological types of examinations that will make sure that your uterus is okay, your ovaries are okay, and different things like that. You know, go to see your heart doctor. So it's always about trying to see how we can maximize the best life that we can.
So, listeners, I know you are listening. Those of you who listen to the program from a global perspective, wanted to make sure that we have somebody on that I'm familiar with who is an expert in the knowledge that we're talking about. And one of the things that's very, very important for all of our lives is, irrespective of who we're listening to, making sure that which they are sharing, that we understand from the standpoint that we're able to grasp it, you know, chew it like a cow chewing a cud, not that we're a cow, but chewing it like a cow chewing the cud and swallowing it, understanding it, and then applying it so that we're able to walk in a manner knowing what we're doing. And that's what's important. Dawn, would you mind sharing with our listeners the story of a child with cancer in the eyes, a workaholic mom, the struggling minister, and the powerful lingering question?
Sure. The child with cancer is now a graduate student with her master's, so that's the good news that we just want to start off with. However, her parents found that she had cancer by noticing how the pictures would always highlight her eyes. At first, they dismissed it and thought perhaps it was a flash from the camera, but they soon realized that was not the case. The doctors told them at that point they would have to remove both eyes or she would die. So could you only imagine what that was like for their first daughter, their baby girl? And that's highlighted in the documentary as well as the off-Broadway play. You would see these stories are in there, and this is what happens. And you know, you have the workaholic mom who's working and focused on being a success and providing for her family and ignoring that she has these little symptoms and things going on, and she's so concerned about, you know, she just started working in this new job and she doesn't want to go to the doctors because she doesn't really have the time off. She's still in the probationary period. But she soon finds out that she has stomach cancer, you know, and that's because she realized, you know, she was burping a lot. And, you know, the doctors told her, look, you need to take this omeprazole. And she's like, you know, she didn't think it was something that was just like an unsettled stomach. So she said, you know, I'm not going to take this. I'm just going to go on and I'm going to come back to the doctors. And when I go back to the doctors, I'm going to tell the doctor that it's not working. And she did. And then the doctor said, okay, then we're going to give you an endoscopy. And when they gave her the endoscopy, they found that she had stomach cancer.
Mm-hmm.
She found out that she had stomach cancer, and they said, okay, so while we're setting up the appointments and things, we're going to need to do surgery. We're going to have to, we're going to ask you to just take the omeprazole in the meantime. And while you take it, you know, we'll be setting up. And she started to take it, and all of her symptoms and her pains went away. But had she taken that initially when they told her to, her pains and symptoms would have gone, and the cancer would have been growing. And by the time she would have noticed that something was really amiss, it would have been way too late. Right now, she has been able to see her children graduate from high school and college now. At the time that they were still young boys at school, and now she's able to by following her instincts. And relying on the guidance that she was given that, no, this is not just an omeprazole, don't take it. She literally didn't take it. Told the doctor she did. Unfortunately, she had to be a little deceptive to get to the point of them saying, okay, well, we need to look further into it. No one would have thought, well, she's burping a lot or feeling gassy, that would be stomach cancer. She didn't know, but she knew it was something different, something wrong. And she followed through, and now she's alive because of it. At the time when she found it, she was stage 3 in cancer. Stage 4 is the final stage. But they were still able to do something at that point. So it's really important for us to understand that these things our body sends us signals. There's so many different ways that we can find out. The struggling minister was my bishop, my pastor. She was raised as a child, a preacher's kid. She was raised in a church. And, of course, at some point in our lives being raised in church, we still have a moment in life when we just want to do us. So she also did that. She went off to Howard University, and she wanted to fight the power that be, and she wanted to be a part of all these different things, but her calling was so strong on her, so she still had to find her way back to the church because the foundation was already set and God already had an assignment for her life. However, she found out at one point that she had cancer, breast cancer. She found a lump in her breast, and she had to go and get it checked. Reluctantly, she did. Kicking and screaming, literally, she did. And I wanted to speak to her on the basis of not the preacher, but Michelle, the human experience. Knowing God, yes, but also what it is like to know that you have all this faith and you're strongly embedded in God, and here you are with this diagnosis. And she said she was scared. She didn't know whether she would live. She was afraid of what she would find out. And this is a dynamic, powerful, profound preacher. Her whole thing is about faith. Her church is greater faith-driven and faith-based. But when you are hit with such a moment, you don't know how to deal with it. And that's how she went about it, by asking, for God's guidance through that whole thing. And she survived cancer for a good 30 years. She recently passed away. God. Yeah, and so, those are the different things. And that powerful lingering question that you speak of is about having faith and wondering, everyone has that question when they hear those words, that you have cancer. Am I going to live? Am I going to make it?
That's right.
It's the toughest thing that people have to go through. But yes, that's really a part of it.
Doctor, let's turn to your best-selling guides and audio and video books. What are the names and your reasons for writing?
Sure. It's The Day That Changed My Life, and it's the audiobooks are available on Audible, as you mentioned in the introduction, and it's for the newly diagnosed cancer patient. And we also have the Parents Edition for those whose child has been diagnosed with cancer. And both of those audiobooks are about giving the listener an opportunity to understand that they will go through different stages where there's the highs and the lows of understanding this cancer journey. Some people you would hear, they'll say, oh, this is the best thing that happened to me. Or you'll hear someone say, oh, I don't understand why this has happened to me. And they both have had this diagnosis, and their perspectives are different. So when you hear someone who's speaking of this is the best thing that happened to them, it may have shifted their purpose in life. It may have brought an awareness to them that they may not have had before, and they're wondering at this point now, is this my chance to wake up and understand that I have to be a better person, I have to be a better steward, or I have to follow through with my dreams, or I can now be able to help others through this process. So, yeah, the whole point of it is to really give them an opportunity to understand whichever you're on. Some people will go to chemotherapy, and after that said, after chemo, I went to work. And then there's someone else who may have gone to chemotherapy, and after chemotherapy, they just wanted to vomit and go to sleep and felt weak and lethargic. So it's the audiobooks are geared to giving you the understanding that whatever your experience is, it's really, truly unique to you as the individual. It's not about having the whole strength of the other person. It's okay to be weak through the process, So it's giving you an opportunity to understand the treatment process, the role of the caregivers, the dynamics in the family, and understanding the nutrition, etc.
Listeners, I would strongly encourage you to, if you don't receive the information on playback, which you should, but look at the show notes, episode notes, and you'll see the link whereby you can find exactly what Dawn is speaking of as relates to the audio and video books and that which we're going to talk about in a moment as relates to the documentary. But at the same time, I do want to say, because it is important, I've listened to Dawn on her radio program, and again, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to her because, again, she makes it very simple, though the challenge is deep and causes impact in your life and those who are impacted by you, so that, again, you understand the seriousness, as she shared, even including her pastor. But at the same time, knowing that you can be a person of faith and pray to God, and He's our great physician, but He also utilizes the human doctors that He has blessed to gain that knowledge so that they, in fact, can help a person continue on in their earthly life. Dawn, you produced an off-Broadway play, The Day That Changed My Life, and it ran for 3 nights at the Manhattan Movement and Arts Center on West 60th Street. What made you want to produce it, and was it challenging for you?
Yes, it was. It was about bringing awareness, and that was really what drives me. It's about awareness. Can't bring awareness by just marching in everyone else's run for the cure or walk for the cure or walk to bring awareness. You have to bring whatever you can. And those are effective as well. But this is also something that I felt was needed. It was about bringing awareness through every avenue possible, bringing life to the real-life journeys of those whose lives have been touched by cancer. There were challenges along the way, but I strongly believe in facing challenges head-on. I am solutions-driven. As you can see, I have Solutions Health and Wellness. It's about solutions. They want to talk about Solutions Cancer Resource Center. I'm solutions-driven, and it always works out for me by always focusing not on the problems. Problems and challenges, they will exist, but it's really about looking at what is going to work. What is the solution to that? And the off-Broadway play and the documentary, which was both on the theatrical stage, bringing life to that, the journeys and those submissions from people who shared their journeys with cancer with me when I put out the call, and they said, okay, this is what I went through. This is how I found out that I had cancer. This is what I went through going through the process of cancer. And they shared those journeys, and we made them into stories and brought life to them and brought it onto the theater, the theatrical stage, and we had people come out, and people were so moved by it. And then I said, okay, we're going to do a documentary. We're going to use the real-life journeys and have the real-life people speak to that end. So now the documentary, at a certain point when I was able to complete it, it was shown in the theaters at the Showcase Cinema Deluxe Theater. And so we were able to bring it not only to the stage, but to the theater, to the big screen. And it is now available on Amazon Prime. Documentary and the off-Broadway play, which was 10 years ago in October of 2010, is now on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, it's free. If you're not, it's, I think, $1.99 or so. So feel free to watch the documentary, watch the off-Broadway play, and share it with your family and friends. You will be so informed. It's insightful. It's inspirational. It gives you hope. It does everything. It takes you through all types of emotions, but you will certainly not be the same after viewing either the documentary, the Broadway, or both.
I'm sure that's a challenge for any and everyone to be able to publicly share that which has happened with and to them from a personal standpoint. Because as you know, out there, also in the workaday world, you have employers out there or insurance companies that try to deny, and that's the reality of life, or try to limit. And at the same time, that causes an impact on people's life. But to come forward, to be able to outwardly share to the public so that other individuals are empowered and strengthened at the same time. And God is so using you. Dawn, during the challenges of your faith, how has God been with you and strengthened you?
Well, God is my everything. He is my source. I was raised in a family where church was everything for us. From Sunday, all day Sunday, we would be in church. The Sunday school to Sunday service, the main service. We go and have Sunday dinner and come back for Sunday evening service. We would be in the weekdays for prayer meeting. We'll be there for another night. These are separate nights. Prayer meeting, then another night for Bible study, and then another night for youth service. And then we're back to the same thing. So I was embedded in the whole church world, and my faith is strengthened because of the home life. My mother was always the one to start our days off with family devotions. We prayed in the mornings. We had Bible. She would cover a scripture in the Bible, and she will discuss it with us, and then we go on our knees and pray as a family. So all of that is a part of what we were taught. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it, and that is true. I have always retained my faith in God, even when I would question him, because, I did question God. I do question God. I have things because I have faith in him. I know that he can do things. So when things are not done the way that I expect him as a human, or know that he can, I question. And it's because I have faith. It's why I question God at times. Like, I know you can do this. I know this could work out. I know this was possible. I know you could have healed this person. Those are the things that I have gone to God with. But I also wake up every morning, every day. I begin my day with thanks. I wake up giving thanks, and I go to bed with reflections of my day and giving thanks. God is my source. He's my everything. I give him thanks throughout the day. I pray throughout the day. So I get my strength from having that prayer life. My prayer life is very strong, and that's what helps to guide me. Because at that point is when I know I am putting out the conversation to you, God. I'm letting you know where I'm coming from, and I'm asking you now to please honor my efforts, hear my prayer, hear my cry, hear my concerns, and I'm awaiting for your response, and I'm going to push through. But I know that you're with me, so I'm going to go because your goodness and your mercy follows me, so I'm going to go on. But I'm going to stop, and every now and again I'm going to stop and question, because there's certain things that at some points you do have those moments. So yeah, it's God is everything. He's my creator. He's my source. He's my all. And I've been raised by that. And he's never, ever, ever. It's not a cliche. He's never failed me. I have failed. Turn to God, and I follow through with the guidance. It's never failed.
Listeners, we're heading toward wrapping up. But one of the things that, again, I'm at the humor time because the topics are serious. But did you notice when we first came on how the Dr. Dawn, remember I talked about the shyness and the communication part? But do you notice how that communication has come forth and making sure that all of us are hearing all that she is sharing, even to that which she just shared as relates to her private prayer unto God, our Heavenly Father, and being able to pose questions to him as a loving child. Dawn, I want to pose some pondering questions for our listeners. What do you mean when you say ideas for success without determination or action are worthless?
You must go forth with your assignment. You cannot succeed when you allow the doubts to overwhelm you. You have to face every challenge, and you seek God's guidance, and it will come. It will be something that, as long as you're open to receive guidance, you will see it happen. It will work out for you. So ideas of success, determination, and action are worthless. It speaks so clearly for me. It's one of my favorite sayings. It's like, if I am expecting the successful outcome, I have to be determined through my actions, or else it's worth nothing. It's worthless if I am not going to follow through with it. Because we all have these brilliant ideas, and they're great in our heads, and that's what happened in my documentary and in my off-Broadway play. When I said I'm going to do this, it was pretty much just saying, okay, I'm going to do an off-Broadway play. And then I just went to work. Okay, I know we're living in New York, where actors are dying and starving for a moment to be able to do something, so I'm going to find them. And what I'm going to do is allow them to use this opportunity to help build their portfolio. So therefore, they're going to do this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do this willingly, and they're going to do this freely. Actors and actresses came by the droves. We had to sift through to find the best ones, and there were millions of, exaggerating, but there was hundreds, such a great turnout, hundreds of actors and actresses that came to the audition, and the majority of them were awesome. And we still had to find a good pool of actors and actresses to deliver. And so we asked questions. We were like, okay, so how do you relate to cancer? Did you ever have anyone? And we had some that had a family member. Two of them had a parent who was going through cancer as we were going through this whole process. So they had a specific connection to the whole thing, and they brought a different light to bringing forth the play to the stage. So we had such a great dynamic team. And that's because we were determined to go through and follow through, and we found the right people. As long as you make that effort, you're going to see things just fall into place. And that's one of the things that stays with me, is to be determined and just follow through.
What do you mean when you say, take each day, mold it, and make it yours?
Well, each day we are given an opportunity to make the best of it. And despite the setbacks or distractions that come throughout our days, we have the power to frame our day. Each day we get up, we'll figure out what we're going to do, and how are we going to make this day a better day than yesterday, and how are we going to push forth our goals, or how are we going to pick up from the task of the day before and bring it closer to completion the next day. Each day is presenting us with a new opportunity. We have to then now say, okay, today I'm going to, and set your goals for the day and move forward with it, no matter what.
Why do you say, if I don't like the view, then I must change my position?
Yes, you can change your position by, following a different path, or go into a different view, looking at something differently. When you're going on the road and you see that they always have these construction work going on the highways or the side streets, etc., you will see this detour sign, and you really come to an area where there's a block without that detour sign for you. There's always a way that maybe may take you a little longer to reach change, so still a path to seeing something differently and changing the vision or the view that you're seeing that you need to adjust it, there's always a way that you can do it. And it's really important that we know that. If you don't like where you are, if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like where your life is going, you have the power to change. And you can change it by changing and making a positional shift within your perspective. Okay, I don't like this relationship that I'm in. I've placed enough time in this. I've put in years. I've nurtured. I've done everything I can possibly do. It's time for me to shift and move out of this. You have the power to do that. You have the power to find a way out. You find a way through, and that's why it's important to always know that it's in our hands, with God's guidance, but it tells us the choice is ours. So that's powerful enough. You have the choice. You have the power to choose.
Why do you believe strongly that we are all given an assignment?
Well, it's that thing that we have inside that won't go away. It's the idea, that vision, the dream. We have that dream that, always comes back. It's like you think about something that's such a great idea, and then, through time it fades away, but then it comes back. It just finds its way back into our thoughts. And I strongly believe that that's our assignment. Our assignment, ultimately, it's up to us to make it happen. And if we follow through, we'll see it become a reality. But we're all giving gifts differently. The Bible talks about the tree having, we are all one body, but we have different members. The whole tree that you see have the branches, and all the branches are going off in different directions, and this is how we are. We all have different roles to play in life. Being a doctor doesn't necessarily mean that's all you have to do. You can bring awareness. You can find ways to do other things in that home assignment that you have. That's why there's audiobooks. That's not just for authors. You become the author. You see that there's a need. You see there's a lack. You see there's a void, or you're strongly drawn to that. That's your assignment. I can't bake bread and sew my own clothes and do my own shoes, make my own car. We have people who are specialized in different areas. I can't go and find who wants to write me and deliver my own mail. I can't do that. We have people who have roles and different expertise in different areas of specialties that they work in, and we have to acknowledge that. Everyone, the person who cleans the street, the janitor that cleans the building, to the administrator of the hospital, to the worker in the cafeteria, we all have roles. To the patient coming in to see the nurse or the doctor, we all have a role to play, and it's really important to understand and respect that. Respect the person who is going to ring up your groceries, because when you go to the machine, even when you self-checkout, that bell starts popping up there. You still need someone to come over and assist you. None of us can do it all. We all have different roles, and we all have different assignments, and we all have to walk strongly in our assignments and understand that in our assignments there's power in every area of that assignment.
You really just answered the next question, so let me move on for the listener. Dawn, do all of us have barriers that we all face?
Absolutely. Every one of us have barriers. In fact, I say that sometimes I could be skipping merrily along the way, and as soon as I turn the corner, I get smacked down with another challenge. Challenges and barriers exist to help us to overcome and see even how greater and how better we are in terms of reaching our goals. It's there to strengthen us, actually. When you find a barrier, that's where you start to think of ways to overcome it. It's like, oh, okay, here's this barrier right here. Now I need to get around it. I remember a couple of years ago I was running through the woods, and I decided to run through the woods because I normally run through the neighborhood. And I said, let me go into the woods. And it's my first time saying, okay, I'm going to run through the woods. And along the route, I noticed this huge tree had blocked the path. I don't feel like going through this. But I ran towards it, and I jumped over the bark, and I kept running. And then it was just clear all the way through the next 6-8 miles in the woods was a clear path. But had I just looked at that big tree that had just fallen over with the big branches off to the side and this long bark and decided, oh, it's probably like that throughout the whole woods. The trees are probably falling down. I would not have known that there was a clear path to go through. So I had to jump over that and understand. And then that was a lesson for me because future ahead of us, there's a clear path. We just need to face the barrier and get over it. And so that in and of itself was a lesson that, yes, barriers are going to come to you at every area. Just for a jog, that was a barrier. So, yes, I have, and I think we all have to just understand that we're going to face them. No matter how successful some person appears, they have had to face barriers along the way. I faced it to the documentary. I faced it in the off-Broadway. I faced it daily. I faced it sitting at the table with people who have differing opinions at the table where I'm speaking on behalf of my people in my community, and someone along the way may not have had that experience, and then I have to check them on that and let them know that's why I'm here. Because you cannot speak for me or my own experience or for the experiences of my own people. So therefore, I have to be a part of that and push through those barriers that other people assume that they know. And they understand us differently than they actually do. You know, they don't know us as well as we know ourselves. So, yeah, we are going to face barriers. Don't allow other people's shine to make you think that everything goes smoothly. It doesn't.
Amen. What makes others forge ahead?
Well, people can become discouraged easily. It's the no's, it's the continuous challenges, as we talked about. It's these barriers. It's the need for validation. And that's why it's important to recognize that your assignment and your vision, your dreams and your goals, it's yours. And they were given to you specifically because you're the person that can execute it. You cannot or you should not expect anyone to see it the way you do, and you have to follow your dream because I'm not going to be able to know what it's like for someone who's going to say, okay, I need the lawn to look the specific way. The landscaper knows how to make it look that way. All I want is my grass cut. But he says, okay, but we can do this, this, and that, and the landscape can make that happen. Or I can't go out and say, okay, I'm going to paint this big canvas and make – the artist has to create that. We have to understand everyone has their own vision and they can see their own assignments, and they cannot become discouraged just because someone else doesn't see it the way they see it. You have to be true to who you are and what's given to you because you know what? There are millions of people who love the works of Picasso, and there's millions of people who can't even understand what it is. Some people can love classical music, and some people are moved by rhythm and blues or jazz or, different types. But those music exists because there's an audience out there for them. So your assignment is given to you because there's someone and there's an audience who's there for that, for your gift. So therefore, you have to work within your assignment and not be distracted by how else it works for someone else or it hasn't been done before. Or maybe that's why you're here. Maybe that's what you're supposed to do. Maybe that's your assignment. That's your purpose. Follow your dream.
Dawn, the final question, especially for the listeners. What makes many turn away and give up, resigning to the idea that was just not meant to be?
Well, people do think that it's not meant to be because they're the naysayers or the challenges. The naysayers are the people that are closest to you, and you come to them and you're excited about this idea. And you come and you say, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And they're like, oh, you're always coming. You always have this. That's not going to – where are you going to get the money? You don't have the money. You know how much that's going to cost? And they start bringing their own ideas. And then that can be something that can then now set you back because now you're like, oh, maybe that's true. I don't have the money. So therefore you don't even start. Or you try to do it and then you realize, oh, well, they say I need this. But you know what? Through and follow through with what you're doing, and those things will fall into place. You have to believe. You have to have that strong faith, and you have to ask for guidance. You have to be open. the guidance, and you have to ask God, this is what you're giving me, so I'm going to trust you along the process. I'm going to trust that this is your design plan for me, and I want to follow through with it, so I'm going to ask you to equip me with the tools so that no matter what the others are saying, that I can put my faith and my trust in you, and I'm going to just go ahead. I'm going to ask you to open the doors for me, and I'm going to walk through the doors, and the doors that are closed, I'm going to assume that with you, the right door is somewhere, and you're going to lead me to that path. And so that's what we need to do. It's not just understand that, the naysayers are going to have to be the naysayers, but that's because for us, we have to say, well, you say no, but I'm going to go with the yes. And you have to believe in yourself, and you have to be strong about your convictions. It hasn't been easy with what I'm doing. It's not like everybody just falls in line when I have an idea. I've had naysayers. I've had a friend of mine who said, who wants to hear about cancer? My God, why would you bring that to the stage? That's so depressing. Well, maybe for people who are going through it or who have a loved one who are interested in the field of cancer, people who know that it's important to understand about, things that may affect them or may have affected them, those are the people that are going to come, and those are the people that showed up. So it's not, your dreams are not always attractive to everyone. Your goals, your vision is not always attractive. I don't like certain sports and activities. I'm not going to be going to a hockey game. But they're hockey fans.
That's right.
They watch it faithfully, and they scream and they cheer for their teams. So I won't be a part of that audience, but there's an audience that's out there for me. Some people don't like church. But that's my place. That's my place of refuge. Right. I love it. I go to church. So we have to understand that, people, they're going to be naysayers along the way, but we have to remain true to our gifts and our assignment and our purpose.
All right. So listeners, people have said this about Dawn in correlation to her role as a medical doctor. She has a natural gift to build confidence, inspire, and empower, motivating others to live their best physical, spiritual, and mental lives. And I know, based upon what we all just heard, it's so true. Dawn, how can listeners contact you for invites, learn more about your business, nonprofit, play, and books?
They can reach me at info, INF as in Frank, O as in Oscar, info at thedaychangedmylife.org. Info at thedaythatchangedmylife.org.
And we will make sure again that it's on the episode notes as it already is, but we will triple check. Dawn, as you look back at the 3 aspirations, does it appear that God still brought them to the forefront in your life when you started off in the program in terms of what you had thought about becoming? I say that because I was listening to one of those aspirations find its way, really find its way, even to the end of the discussion as relates to building up people and so forth. But I turn it back over to you, my sister.
Absolutely. Yes. God has been awesome in helping me and allowing me to, so I'm not a model, but I am a teacher and I'm a doctor. And I'm a teacher in many different aspects. I'm a teacher in being able to be the teacher for my children, to be the example of lessons through my life. And I'm teaching others as a mentor to become the best them that they can be, whether it's young minorities who want to become doctors or work in the health field. I'm a mentor to doctors. I'm a mentor to doctors from all different walks of life and different ways of specialties, areas of specialties. And so I've been able to fulfill those assignments as a teacher and as a doctor. I'm also able to fulfill the assignment not by limiting myself or saying, okay, because I am in cancer, I can only stick to cancer and cancer research and just stick my head in the work itself and not veer off to bring awareness in the areas. So God has been great. He's been faithful to me, and he's given me the gifts, and I'm walking in it, and I'm trusting him in it. I'm working on a docuseries to continue to bring awareness by speaking to different people, the widow who's lost her husband to cancer, or speaking to the doctor, the pathologist who has been the whole process of diagnosis and how it's done and how you inform a patient about that. Finding different, and the assignments are coming because those are the ideas that are given to me, and so therefore I know I have to fulfill those. That's the next step, is to be able to trust the process, respect the process, respect the assignment, and know that all things work together for our good. And if we just only trust in him with all our hearts and lean not to our own understanding, but in all our ways, acknowledge him and allow him to direct our path, for surely his goodness and mercy follows us. And that's what we have to hold on to and understand that to be the case.
Wow. Dawn, my beloved sister, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, for returning to Challenges of Faith radio program, and as you already know, return any time you so desire.
Thank you for having me, and it was wonderful, and I appreciate your patience with me. And I really love the fact that you gave me another opportunity to join you on the program. God bless you. I love you. I love your patience. I love you for everything that you've been doing and being able to at least give us the opportunity to share in this moment again. God bless you.
Thank you, my sister. It's an honor to always have you on. Love you too. Go in peace.